Kevin, as someone that has purchased a business from once was a customer of yours, what has that been like?
It's very gratifying, very rewarding, and a very big learning curve. It's I'm responsible for about 10 people's families and their income and their livelihood, and trying to keep a good name within the community for the business, satisfying thousands of customers. It's a challenge at times, but it is very rewarding. It's something I enjoy doing.
Is it at all what you expected when you went into purchasing the business?
I think it's more than what I expected in a lot of different ways. Being in business for 28 years prior to that as self-employed, I kind of knew what to expect. It was a similar customer base and a similar experience, but dealing with employees like that and dealing with a very broad customer base, it's um, it's a little bit to learn. And of course, you're dealing with the economy and the media and so many other things that influences your day-to-day businesses.
Yeah. And then you were self-employed, but not with employees or other people to be responsible for, right?
Correct. I was an independent contractor for 29 years with a company based out of St. Louis, Missouri. The name of the company was Hunter Engineering Company. And they're an automotive equipment manufacturing company that's worldwide. They manufacture wheel service equipment like alignment machines, tire changers, balancers, um, lifts, a lot of other pieces of equipment. I was responsible for installing, training people how to use that, and ultimately repairs.
And you did that for about how long?
29 years.
That's pretty wild. So pretty much in the same position or same similar job scope.
Well, I was the chief cook and bottle washer all at once because I had nobody to fall back on. So I did the paperwork, I did the repairs, I did the parts ordering, the parts organizing, the driving, the repairs.
So you're more or less a micro business within their business of
Correct.
what you were doing.
As an independent contractor, yes.
Interesting. And then how did you end up meeting the past owner of what is now Car Pros Muffler Masters?
It's a kind of a cool story. I got a phone call one day from the gentleman that previously owned the facility, and they were looking for some guidance, education, and possible a purchase of a piece of equipment. And we went and we spoke for a while and had to do some facts and figures, and I threw some things at him that he didn't think about, and he threw some things at me that I didn't think about. We crunched some numbers because he was looking at another avenue. And long story short, he called me back and said, "Let's order some equipment because what you're representing is, I think, where I want to go." And that started the relationship. And he did buy, and we installed, and we had a good 18-year, 20-year
Wow.
relationship. And it came about one day that I was in there doing some service work because they had broken something, and he said, I'm thinking about getting out. I'm going to be selling to somebody. And I said, well, thanks. I appreciate the relationship. I appreciate the business over the years. I said, someday I'm looking for something like this for my retirement plan and so forth. He says, well, such and such is buying it. They happened to call me back about 6, 7 weeks later with another broken part. And he said, you still want to talk about that? Because this person's not going to be able to come through in the deal. And one thing led to another. And 7 months later, I was a new business owner, and it
So
worked out.
yeah, sometimes you just got to put it out there and see what happens. Huh?
Exactly. You just, you got to talk to people, and, just like you guys get out and talk to folks. I had 350 customers all over the state, and it was fun. It was a great experience. You get to meet some interesting people and some interesting stories, and car people and airplane people and people that fish and people that hunt and just what everybody else does. It's just interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because you said 350 more or less opportunities, but not one represented itself like that opportunity that then you ended up owning and buying the business. So it's how many people you got to know to potentially position yourself for something like that to happen.
It's I can't give you an exact number on that, but you become a friend to them because you have a relationship. It's a business friendship relationship. Obviously, it's my responsibility to keep their equipment up and running so they can make money, and their
Sure.
technicians rely on me. So, and they bounce around a little bit. So you see them here, there, in the next place. But well, you become their friend and they depend on you and they confide in you in a lot of things. It's like the local tool truck guys. They always they hear it all, and you guys do too. When you go into places, we're having this problem, we're having that problem, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Oh, I know somebody. I got a guy, I got a person, I know a company. So it's a networking thing.
Yeah. And I think that's turned into talking and knowing you for a little bit is like the referral thing. You know how important and how powerful it is, but it's also how do you control it? How do you make a referral network really work the way you want it to work? And it's extremely difficult.
It can be. We're all looking for the customer that we want to deal with. But, along the way, the path, the road, you meet so many different types of people that engage in multiple different facets of businesses. And, if you're smart enough and willing to listen, you'll learn a lot from a lot of different people, good and bad. Sometimes you see things that you don't want to do, a learning experience. And sometimes you see people that you feel are successful and you learn from them and take that forward. So, and put your own spin on it one way or the other. Um, it's a big world, but a small community.
Absolutely. So Kevin, talking about relationships, how important has that been for both being on the sales side of it and then also relationships within the business, whether it's with employees or customers or?
Well, the relationships never stop. You have parts vendors, you have supply houses, you have technicians, you have customers, you have team members within the building. I mean, it's nonstop. Obviously, without any of them, success is not possible. So you learn over time who your friends are. You learn who your allies are. And you just take those relationships and nurture them and move forward every day. As any smart business guy knows, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And unfortunately, in most businesses today, you need multiple relationships to move forward.
What does the structure kind of look like within Car Pros and what you've built?
Well, we're a small family-run business. I mean, we're not that big. We have 12 total people there. It's my wife and I pretty much doing most of the behind-the-scenes business structure stuff, but we have managers up front and we have technicians in the back, and everybody pitches in and does what needs to be done to make the customer satisfied. They all care. They care about the business. They care about us. They care about the customer. So I think that's what has made us the most successful is the caring. They trust us. We're honest. Integrity. Everybody's seen so many false impressions of almost every business out there, whether it's automotive or roofers or construction people. I mean, I can just go on and down the list. It's the society we live in anymore that it's almost hard to trust and build and control that relationship. But our customer base is outstanding. Our people are just phenomenal. And again, I wouldn't be successful without any one of them. So,
Yeah. Are you currently trying to grow more employees or are you good with where you're at? Has that grown since you've got it, the business? Like how many employees was it when you took it over?
there were 3 people when I got it, and we're up to 12. And
Quite the growth.
it is controlled growth. Everybody makes mistakes along the way, but our mistakes were minimal, and I contribute that to a lot of years of experience. But I also, one of my sayings is I don't necessarily want to get bigger. I just want to get better. And as you become better, progression just makes you bigger.
Absolutely.
The more people we take care of and the more word of mouth advertising we get, the better we become, the bigger we grow.
Yeah, it'll force you to be bigger. And
Bigger isn't always better,
agreed.
Yeah. It's
Depends on what you want, right? And
happiness is calculated many different ways.
absolutely.
So
And I think you probably have went through that, right? Like where you were extremely happy with maybe what you were doing prior, but then you wanted more or you wanted to find more. Maybe.
I'm a happy person, but I
Yeah.
always want to be better.
Yeah.
So there's always room for improvement in our business, whether it's the little details, the dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
And
Makes a
then,
difference.
yeah, constant progression and
Yep.
learning. And in with what you do, there's so much skilled trade, right? And you have to be well trained or have a lot of knowledge within the different expanding technologies and equipment and just different things you have.
We have such a variety of vehicles that come in our shop, from a four-cylinder Chevrolet to a Dodge diesel pickup truck to a Corvette to anything. And we work on boats, we work on trailers and generators and vehicles of all different sizes and shapes and makes and models. So we're constantly pushing training. We have vendors and suppliers that offer training, whether it's online or classes outside the facility. And of course, we do our very best to stay up on technology because it's constantly changing.
Yeah, I know. Being at your facility and seeing the tech and the scanners, like it's not cheap, but it's kind of have to have, and you gotta have it,
You
right?
got to be able to communicate with the vehicle.
Unless you want to keep working on carbureted cars.
Yeah, well, they're still out there, but they're far and few between. A lot of people don't even know what a carburetor is anymore.
Yeah. So as much as people may drive past like an auto repair shop thinking that it's been there for years on end, what's happening inside may be completely different.
As the auto industry continues to evolve, to be successful, you must evolve with it. And that's, again, training, technology, equipment. Um, there's so many things that have come and gone in our industry in the last 20 years. What's it going to be like the next 20?
Right. And I think something that's interesting with your business that some people do, some don't, is vendors and suppliers of parts and tools and making sure you can get what you need to then supply a service to the customer so you're not sitting on their car for who knows how long, right?
Well, you said it earlier, relationships. Who do you choose to ally with? And there's plenty of people out there selling stuff. You've got all sorts of stuff on the internet. There's more information at people's fingertips and parts, but we choose to offer, I consider, a better quality part than the cheapest thing that's out there. A lot of people don't think about this, but whatever you do, whatever you buy today, there's a good chance that it's going to fail or break or just stop working. What do you do then? Who, where, when, how do you get that serviced, fixed, warranted, repaired, replaced?
Right.
We do offer a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty on everything that we do. A lot of our stuff has got nationwide coverage, so even if you broke down in Iowa, we have a network of shops that would take care of that for you within our group. And our vendors, we've had some unique things happen over the years that weren't our fault, but because we did the right thing for the customer and the vendor did the right thing for us, we retain those customers. Parts fail, parts break. They're made by humans or machines that aren't always perfect, and things happen.
Yeah, mass production.
Yep. Quality control, probably not what it used to be 40 years ago,
Right. They're making way more of them way faster.
They're trying to. Get them
Because
out
they got to
the
keep
door.
up with the ones that consistently break
Yep,
and keep going.
Correct. So, like I said, there is different levels of parts, and we try to choose a better quality part to make sure that the customer is getting value for what they spend with us.
Do you typically like interview or test or try to work with a new supplier for an amount of time to kind of test out their, how good their quality is and how good of a product or service they provide you so then you can provide that to your customers?
We do, and a lot of our type of facilities know each other and we communicate. Again, word of mouth is huge. If Bill says I've had great luck with ABC or didn't have the best luck with DEF, and
Right.
we communicate that way. And there's always programs out there, and what do they offer above and beyond a quality part or quality service after the sale? Training and tool programs and things like that. Make a big difference for us because we need that support.
Yeah.
If you go to a dealership, they have the manufacturer behind it, and they have rules and regulations and all sorts of specific things, but they're dealing with one product line. We deal with 60.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more involved.
No, I'd say a lot more involved.
I would probably say it's a lot more involved too. But, when we need our information, we need it now.
You're right.
And we have sources where we can find it. Sometimes we have to dig a little harder, and sometimes some of the products are rather obscure, you know. We had a vehicle last summer, that was brought over from Germany, and it's not sold here. There's no parts here.
And it lands at your shop.
And it landed at our shop through a recommendation from some other shops. Nobody would touch it, and it happened to need some brakes. Well, we searched 3-4 hours. Not happening in this country.
Yeah, that little drop down menu to select that make and model it doesn't exist on the US.
Not there at all. And we explained that to the customer, and they made some phone calls and had the parts sent from their facility somewhere in Germany to us second day. So they helped us, we helped them, we got them back on the road, and they were pretty happy. It happened to be like a motorhome, and they were back on their 50-state tour. So away they went, and I thought that was kind of cool.
That's always fun, right? And I think that's oil changes. They're mostly the same every day, but you'll get things like that. So your days change, and it's always a challenge.
It makes it interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same old quote boring stuff that you do every day.
Yeah.
You know, some other things like people from Canada, they were stuck here, and we had to find a way to get them going, and we did. And the smile on their face, how gracious they were to get us back so they could go home. You ever been stranded anywhere? You feel helpless. You have no friends, no help. You got your phone and the internet. And now what do you do with it?
Especially if you're in a different country, I can't imagine.
Exactly. You know, it's just the whole ball game is different.
Yeah. And then you just do everything you can to get them back on the road. And
it's kind of the way I was raised. And you know, that's the mentality of my shop.
Yeah.
Let's do what we can to help the client.
Yeah, until we're backs up against the wall, we're going to figure it out, right? And even then, we'll
give it an honest shake. That's all we can do.
Right. Yeah. How about the guys in the shop? And I mean, there's good days, there's bad days, right? There's struggles.
You know, we make mistakes, but we stand behind them. We're dealing with a product that can give us information, but it can't really talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen that. Tell somebody, and 4 stories down the road, the story is entirely different from what it started with.
Right.
And we deal with that with a car. You know, a customer explains something to us, and, you know, we even drive it with them, and it can't happen, or it does happen, and their explanation or description is entirely different than our verbiage. So sometimes there's that communication gap, or the car just doesn't want to act up when we get it, and it takes 3, 4, 5 times to make it happen. Once we get it to happen, we can fix it.
Right.
But sometimes it's hit or miss, and it's not just us; it's the car business in general.
Yeah.
It can't say, "Hey, my elbow hurts."
That's why you're in business, is because not everybody can figure out what's going on with these dang things sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, I think, working with customers, right? And then some customers great, some are difficult, some have great experiences, some might not. So it's just being customer service is such an important thing in a service-based business.
They have a problem, a perceived problem that's not right. They drove by 40 places to come to us. They are looking for an answer to a problem. And we're professional, we're experts, and we do the very best we can to give them that resolution to their problem. Most customers, 99.999% of them are just fantastic.
Yeah.
They're gracious, they're happy, they trust us, they're good people. I can never really blame a customer for being upset or angry, because nobody likes having a broken car.
Yeah, nobody's excited to come spend money that they may not originally plan on
root
spending.
canal car repair. What's
Yeah.
pick your poison there? It's neither one is something
Is
that
fun
anybody
or
wants to
exciting.
do. No, you could probably think about 400 things you'd rather be doing, but everybody needs their car, and we understand that it's a vital piece of taking the kids to soccer, to school, to dance, to swimming, whatever. Or you got to get to school, or you got to get to work, or you're supposed to go away, or you're stuck somewhere. We need transportation.
Yeah.
So without it, we take it for granted when it's running fine with no problems, but when it breaks, we
That's
need
Kevin's fault.
It's my fault. I did it.
You did it.
I did it.
Gosh dang it, Kevin.
But no, we have great guys in the back. They all care. They give it 110% every single day.
Yeah. What's it like balancing a business that kind of ebbs and flows? Like, right, there's certain times of the year you'll be busier and not as busy depending on traveling or, during certain times of year where people may want to spend more money or less money if it's available in the economy or whatever.
Well, growing up as a kid, you used to be able to say, we're going to be busy in the fall because winter's coming and they got to prep the car. And you'd get busy again in the spring because people are going on vacation. The car's evolved so much that it doesn't necessarily flow like that anymore. The cars have become so much more reliable and dependable that they still need to be maintained, probably more so than ever. The manufacturers are running the engines at higher heat, higher RPM, longer oil change intervals, different ways that the fuel is getting into the engine. The roads that we have in Colorado are spectacular, right?
Super good, yeah.
I mean, I probably hit 12 potholes just coming
Coming
into
down
the
here.
parking lot.
You're going to need alignment by the time you get back home.
So, I mean, people don't understand sometimes that preventative maintenance to prevent the damage because things are expensive.
Yeah.
Tires aren't cheap and stuff like that, but the cars changed quite a bit.
We're also driving so much nicer vehicles as they were years ago. When you get in these things and they're have all the creature comforts and they're quiet.
Well, that's what our society demands anymore. I want to be able to talk to such and such on my phone or receive a text and drive all at the same time and choose whatever music I want to listen to. And I want the seat to be warm. I want it to be cold. I want it to vibrate. I want it not to vibrate. I want the thing to drive itself. I want to take a nap. It's
super wild.
It's evolution.
And every one of those things is just one more thing that can break.
Very true. And they do.
And they do. Yeah. One of the new things that's in cars that I think is wild is the speaker that picks you up when you're talking and then you can hear you clear in the back so you don't have to raise your voice to the people in the back of the car.
There's sensors now on the dashboard that can look at your eyelids and alert you if it thinks you're falling asleep.
Yep.
I think that's incredible.
And I think that's super cool, right? And the safety and hopefully what that helps within. But then as society starts to rely on that could
we become dependent on things that, I had a 69 Camaro, and I am the proud father of triplet daughters. And one of the coolest things in my life, and I took it for granted, we went for a ride. And, Dad, how do we put the windows down? I said, you see that handle? Grab it and turn it. They thought that was the coolest thing, but I didn't realize that they were never in a car that didn't have power windows.
That's crazy. And
I'm like, that's just me, just being...
Dad likes that option because it makes the car lighter, which means it's faster.
Yeah. But, it's just, I didn't realize it,
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just that generational thing between the car and the kids and the family. And
yeah, manual windows are just not a thing anymore.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Very rare.
You probably have to pay more for that option if you want it.
Probably. There's no ashtrays in cars anymore. It's a smoker package now that's $400 or whatever it is. Things that used to come that everybody used is optional now because we don't use them.
Yeah, so as cars evolve, business evolves, people evolve.
Yep.
Everything evolves.
Along with the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and what do you think one of the biggest things has evolved within your business since you've taken it over? I mean, you've grown in technology and all that, but to really make it what it is today.
Well, we need a social media presence. That's everything right now. People need to know where we're at, what we're about. You can spend $1 million on advertising, but nobody really cares about the junk they get in the mail anymore. They throw it away.
Right.
TV, and nobody watches regular TV channels anymore. They're watching cable, Netflix, Roku, whatever.
The show, yeah.
Whatever they're paying for is what they're watching. So, but everybody's on their phone every day. So we've made an impact, I think, with high-speed media, getting out there, communicating with people, letting them know what we're about, and it seems to be doing well for us.
We've been getting Kevin on more videos, and we even have an ad with Kevin running right now. It's crazy enough. It's doing pretty decent. So.
I have a face for radio.
No, it's been fun. And, well, even within that, I mean, you talk about everybody being on their phone. What's crazy is being in your shop there, you guys actually take pictures with tablets and phones and stuff and upload it into your system, so everything's documented. So it's also digital.
Most customers have no idea what a CV joint is, but we have the ability to take a photo, a video, highlight it, communicate with them through aspects of modern technology. You know, somebody's in an office, but we can send them a text, or they can rewind and look at a video later. Um, I don't expect people to know what an axle seal is or a harmonic balancer. That's our responsibility to
Right.
let you know. But we can document it and show you failures.
Try to educate the customer as much as possible.
And that's always been something, you know, we need to educate you and let you make a confident decision
Sure.
in what you're going to fix and what you're not. And we normally try to break things out. And, you know, this is a safety issue, this is a maintenance issue, and this is something that you should be aware of, but maybe you don't want to do or can't afford today, but something for you to think
Yeah,
about.
you plan on having the car for the next 3 months or 3 years or 13 years, and
Yep.
this may matter to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, you make the decision. It's our job to advise you what we see. And I think we do a really good job of that. And technology has helped us quite a bit in that aspect.
Earlier, you said that you've had a few issues or maybe a few errors or problems through growing the business. What's one that kind of sticks out to you, and how did you persevere and learn from it? And
Well, as things evolve with technology, we have switched some computer program softwares, point of sale stuff over the years. And like right now, if you've been in my shop in the last 4 years, I can print you out a complete history. Sometimes the transition from an old system to a new system didn't go quite as well as we liked, and I lost some repair history over the years with that. Um, it's kind of
it's like us losing footage in film or something.
it's
That one hurts.
it hurts, but there's other things involved in our business where a parts warranty, where's the repair order, where did you buy it on? All that information is in our system. Some other things like power outages sometimes cause us problems where we don't have internet and we can't do any of our business.
That makes
Everything,
sense.
our whole business is pretty much cloud-based anymore.
Yeah. With like the software and different things you guys use for repairs.
Communication with the customers, software repairs, our parts ordering, it's all done through the cloud.
Yeah.
Other things, you know, in today's society, unfortunately, we've had a car broken into once. There was some damage done. That's a tough phone call to a customer, but you know, we did the right thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, little things sometimes just they bother the daylights out of me, and I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but we can always do better. And some things like that
I like to say there's always room for improvement, right?
in everything you do.
Always and forever.
Always.
Unfortunately, as much as that'll bug you and keep you up late at night, but
You know, you lay there sometimes and you're thinking about, did such and such call Mrs. Brown? Did Mr. Smith get
Yeah.
a phone call about this? Did they remember to send that part back so we can get credit on the failed part? Did this get done? Did they turn that off? You know, it's
a pretty wild thing as a business owner that like you're the safety net for so many things.
yep.
And it's a big safety net and it's wide and it changes and it looks different every day. And I think that's some of the stuff I've learned is I have those same thoughts so many times of like, hey, did we do that? Hey, did we send this? Did we follow up? Has it been 2 days and we should have got back to them in a day? Like where are we at with that? And
We're just responsible. That's what we are. And sometimes that can be a detriment to your own self. But, you know, you can never really care too much.
yeah. In business, have you always seen yourself as kind of a logistical person and like trying to fix errors or things like that may happen that fall through the cracks, like logistically, like trying to say, okay, we'll never have that happen again because we're going to put this into play or we're going to fix it by doing this. So then we can correct that ongoing.
Well, there's constant change in policies and procedures. There has to be. As things change, as people change, we all deal with that in business. You know, policies change in the city we work in. You
Sure.
know, parking lot striping, handicap accessibility.
All the stuff you don't care about as a business owner, but that you have to deal with.
I care about it, but it's, you know, sometimes there's things that we have to do that sometimes don't always make sense to us as a business owner. You know,
Right.
you want to put a sign or a flag out, and you need a permit for it. You'd never think you'd need that, but then you
Hey,
get
I
a
just wanted to
nasty
put a flag on my building, man.
you get a nasty letter in the mail from the city. You're going to get fined if you don't do this or that. I'm like, who would ever thought you need to do that? Like I said, there's always something you're changing to make it better, and it's constant.
Yeah. As growing from, like you said, like 3 employees to 10 to 12, depending on how you look at it, what have you learned within hiring or, when you're interviewing people?
I'm a little different. I don't necessarily want that guy that comes in. I got 42 years experience and I can do this, that, and the other thing. I want someone with a great attitude that's willing to learn.
That's the biggest thing.
Experience does make a difference in our business. It's a huge asset, but having the wrong attitude can hurt you more than having the right attitude.
Having the best person ever with the wrong attitude is overall worse for the entirety.
I use this analogy all the time. I said the guy that sits on the bench at the Super Bowl when they win gets a ring. He contributed to the team even though he didn't get 1 minute on the playing field.
Yeah.
But he got a
Yeah.
ring. And his name's on that roster. We have people that do a lot of things at our facility that are incredibly important that you just don't really see the face, the names. They're behind the scenes doing something.
Yeah.
Inventory's huge. Accounting's huge. There's things that just the pieces of the puzzle must fit. So everybody there has an important role. So over the years, I talk to people. I'm the first step in the hiring process, but ultimately the other employees hire the person or not. Because I get an impression if they get by me, the other people talk and take over. And if they think they're a good fit, then we go further.
So do they usually just hang out at the facility for a little while or for a day or a couple hours or?
We talk. I'll call some references. I know a lot of people being in town for all these years. And if I don't know them, I'll know somebody that does know them. And I'll make those phone calls and, hey, tell me about Tim Brown, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And like I said, if I'm impressed up front and I have good vibes about the guy, I'll either have somebody come in that day and talk to him or have him come back and talk to
Some other internal people and
multiple other people normally.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Getting some feedback from your internal employees that say, see what they see, right?
They don't work for me. They work with us.
Right.
So
it's a team.
It has to be.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. It's a team. I went on a trip and we went to Wake Forest with baseball, and so much of how he talked about working with the team is so much of how I felt like that here. And then we've even implemented more of like team aspects. Run a business less like you own it and they work for you, more like you're a coach and your players all on the same team and you're all trying to win a Super Bowl or whatever it is, right? Like,
but the key is to grow them to be the coach.
Yeah.
Like-minded people get things done much easier than different thought processes. Drag racers always want to win, right?
Absolutely.
But it's that path of getting there. Does the car look good? Does it sound good? Do you have reputable people that represent you?
Proud of it, yeah.
Are you proud of it? And, even if you don't win that round or that race, you feel good about what you accomplished. And who really determines the win and loss in our business?
Yeah.
Our customers let us know. And at the end of the day, we all had a part in that success.
The reviews on Google or the happy customers or maybe not so happy customers, but
we all
own it.
We all own it. We take a part of that.
Yeah, ownership's massive in what you do, right? Like,
it has to be
in you as a business, and then all the way down to the employee that's working on the car that then says, "Hey, Kevin, it's good to go," and then you give it back to and if it's not, like, man, we gotta own this one. Like,
it's a huge
what
trust
happened
thing.
here?
It's a huge trust thing.
Yeah,
we all gotta be on the same page.
Yeah,
and mistakes happen. A thing will happen that we didn't see or it didn't.
Not even if it's on you guys, right? It's just it came in for this, and the next part over made it 1 more mile down the road. Nothing you could do about it, but
why didn't you see that? Well, we can't see everything. We're
It's a
good.
used vehicle. Like
We're
that
good.
part next to it had just as many miles as the part that failed. Unfortunately, that one did, and now that one is.
Now, most of the cars we see have 100,000 miles plus, which is, a good thing for a business, but, it's probably on its second or third owner. Sometimes we see it. Um, and some people don't realize what is going on with their car. They just don't know. That's where that comprehensive inspection of videos come in for us.
Yeah.
It does help us quite a bit.
Talking to you for a while and getting to know you, I know that you really like fleet accounts. And I think people that build businesses, they stay super focused on a style of customer, and where like a fleet's a different style of customer, right? That could be really
Yeah.
beneficial to a business like yours, or what would be maybe contracts for companies like mine, or governments, or like things that are pretty secure and happen consistently, right? Like, because if they're a fleet, that they're going to consistently have vehicles that need maintenance and all those things. And if you can supply that service, that's a consistent revenue income for you. You're not just waiting for the next time for that person's car to need
Correct.
something. How important has that been, or was that something that was kind of in place, or is that something you've implemented, or how's that came about?
We've grown our fleet business considerably. Fleets are a nice aspect to our business because there's usually numerous vehicles. There's also numerous drivers that all have different styles of driving the vehicle. Um, we can determine sometimes, is it the vehicle or is it the driver? Unfortunately, sometimes you have to point to the driver because that vehicle driven by that driver seems to have all the problems, which is costing the company all the money. But we prioritize some of the fleet customers. We understand if that vehicle's not on the road, an employee, a company, a business is not making the revenue.
Right.
And every time that thing's sitting in the parking lot and not moving, they're not making money. So we understand that they need to get in and get out. They need quality service at a reasonable price with quality products go into the vehicles. They don't have repeat failures. We've taken a few steps further. We stock the filters, the tires, the specific things for multiple fleets that we service so we can give them almost like a pit crew experience when they come in. We will actually put a team of 2 to 3 people on a car sometimes to get them in and out quickly. It's not anything new. It's been around for years, but it's one of the commitments we make to our fleet customers.
So as a business grows and scales, you almost need to probably get to a certain threshold to be able to reliably service fleets. Because if not, if the fleet's too big for your size of business, they could almost bury you or pinch you in a spot where you might not be able to deliver. So you're doing everything you can to be bigger than they are for when they need you, type of a thing.
Well, we revisit our fleet managers from time to time and make suggestions and offer other different opportunities, changing oil brands that may give them longer mileage intervals, making other suggestions with brake pad design and style to give them better stopping, prepare vehicles for winter time. We do things that a lot of people, we just check every battery and every single time it comes in, because you don't want to go out tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, and turn the key and nothing happens.
And now your employee that you're paying a good amount of money every hour is sitting there with a dead vehicle.
Right, waiting for the
So you're losing money and you're burning money because he's not
So-
out there able to do it.
Again, we just do things that sometimes we take for granted that is helpful to them.
And I think that's where, when you start offering services like that, you might not be the cheapest person in town, but you're providing a premium service.
And we're thorough.
Yeah.
And, we stay on top of it. The records are in our computer. We communicate with them, what we see, what we don't see. It makes it very easy for them to make decisions on their vehicles. When to service them, how to service them. Sometimes it takes a while to take that group of cars and turn them around so we're comfortable with where they're at. Because until we know what you're driving and who's driving it and how they're driving it, it takes a little bit of time for us to build that database for us. Number 86 van, how's it doing? Last time I was here, it had this problem. Well, let's double check that,
Yeah.
Again, it's effort, it's time.
Well, and then it takes it off of that company to have to think about number 86 van.
Well, it's nice to say, hey, Bill, we looked at 86 again. We just want you to know that oil leak that you had last time, it's fine. It's not there at
it
all.
wasn't that, or whatever we fixed is good now, or hey, or probably even maybe being like a consultant when some of their vehicles get towards the end of
We do.
the life cycle for when, hey, you might want to move this one down the road.
Correct.
Yeah.
At the mileage it's at and the money you're going to spend, you may want to think about doing some other type of.
This might be a good time for you to sell it and take the cash. And
Correct.
it's good for somebody else, but for what you do and the mileage
Yep.
you put on it, their life cycle gets shortened.
Yeah, there's a value versus, value.
Mhm.
How much you're going to put in versus what it's worth and how many more miles before you start having other problems. So that communication helps us a bit.
Yeah. And I think something within that you've started working on, or not started, but you've been working on like Sprinter vans and stuff like that,
Mhm.
which is kind of a unique vehicle that not a lot of shops can work on. And a lot of it, you has to go to Mercedes or whatever, those types of things. So you've actually tried to invest and become a place that people can bring that style of vehicle to you.
Well, as the Hunter rep for many years, I drove a Sprinter van. I think it's a fantastic, incredibly well-engineered vehicle. But for me, it was incredibly hard to get worked on because nobody could talk to it. And I loved it, and I invested in the tooling to talk to those vehicles. I share an experience, but I sat up in a Mercedes dealer in Denver almost the whole day. And every person in that room had a Sprinter with a similar problem. Nobody would work on them. Nobody would touch them. So we've taken that opportunity down here to help Sprinter owners out, and it's worked out pretty well for us. I stocked the correct filters. I stocked the correct oil. I have the ability to do most of the communication with them. We've done some RVs. We've done some work trucks. So it's worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah.
We've given that customer with that vehicle an opportunity to opt out of waiting 3 months to get into a dealership for service. Because if you call the backlog, they're $240, $50 an hour, and you're waiting 3-4
And
weeks
they'll
to
get
get
to
in
it when
there.
they get to it.
Yeah, and I mean, they have plenty of cars sitting out there just waiting because where are you going to take it?
Yeah.
So I saw it as an opportunity.
That's
I
cool.
also saw it as an opportunity to take care of some people. So
Yeah.
it worked out well.
Yeah. There's a problem and you found a solution.
Yep.
Or you became the solution, implemented into the business.
The
and
best we can.
Yeah. And then at that point, you're kind of looking for, does that add 5% of business a year to it? Does that add 7, whatever, right? Like as you can find these problems and solutions, if you implement them into the business, it just grows the
Right.
business by.
And then they tell their other buddy they go RVing with, and now we picked up 3
Oh, yours
customers.
has an issue. And
Yeah, wow, they take it to these guys. They did a great job for us. And, their family car and their daughter's car going to college.
Yeah.
It just trickles down.
Then I think also within some of the equipment you have, like the big lift outside, a lot of
Mhm.
people can't work on.
We have a 32,000
Yeah.
pound 4-post, and we have the ability to lift most of those heavier vehicles. People with boom trucks and, super medium to heavy duty trucks. We don't do semis.
You're not heavy duty, right? Yeah.
Nah,
Like when you said medium, yeah.
Yeah, like F700s and stuff like that. We have the ability to lift those and look at them. And
So they're kind of in a weird spot. Like they're not commercial, like full on like semis, but also they're bigger than what most shops
correct.
have equipment to work
Right.
on.
More commercial type vehicles. Bigger, heavier duty stuff.
Yeah. Do you care what you guys are working on at the shop? Is there one that you prefer to work on over the other, like your normal Honda or a truck like that? Or
We're realistic. If someone calls with something that we can handle or don't have the ability to give them the service we think they need, we're going to be upfront with it and say, hey, look, here's our recommendation, take it there. But they're pretty much car's a car, truck's a truck. Yeah, there's the foreign cars, some of the more intricate Volkswagens and Audis and all that stuff. It's a little bit harder to get parts for. It's a little bit harder to find information on sometimes. They're just built a little different technology, but we find our way through it.
yeah, thank goodness for the internet sometimes, right?
Yep,
And all the information that's
works
out there.
out well for us.
Sometimes you find yourself watching a YouTube video just to figure out how somebody did it. You guys have a lot better technology and information than that.
We
but,
do. But, be honest with you, sometimes you look at some of that stuff because somebody else ran into the same problem you did.
yeah.
And it's helpful.
From a normal person's perspective.
Right. This thing here needs to be moved there, and you do this and do that. And I found a little trick. I
I use this little clamp and it
Yeah.
holds this while I grab that.
burned my hand while I was doing this, so don't do that.
Hey guys, to make sure you don't burn your hand when you're doing that.
Exactly.
Things are hot. Yeah. So something that's different with what you have going on is it's, a local business. There's only one store, but you're in an industry that there are kind of the big box stores of your industry, right? And you kind of have to compete with their brand or that they're known, but then how do you separate yourself and, be competitive in that market to make sure people come back to you and not go to them?
Well, when Kmart came to town, how many mom and pop stores did they put out?
Right.
I don't have really anybody to answer to except for my customers and ourselves. I don't have a daily quota or numbers that I have to meet because it's a chain store and push, 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 sell, sell, sell. It's not what we need to do. Yeah, we're in business, and yes, we have to make a profit. We can do it differently. I call it the old-fashioned way. We kind of earn our reputation, and we earn our money. So I'm not saying the box stores don't. We just do it differently.
You have to act and move different.
We
Or
got-
you don't have to, but
we got to be better.
yeah.
We're personalized. We're big enough to handle just about anything that comes through our doors, but we're small enough to remember your name. A lot of different people like dealing with somebody they see consistently. They know their name, they know their face, they walk into a familiar place. Box stores turn over constantly for a lot of different reasons. We're not that way.
Yeah, and I think so somebody that's looking at like trying to maybe open up a franchise or trying to build their own brand, the brand and the local business is harder to build because it doesn't come with that branding, but then also you're limited. Like you said, I don't have to answer to anybody. So if tomorrow I want to run a sale or I want to promote something or I need to refund somebody, I just can do it without
I ask me.
Yeah, you ask yourself.
I ask me. Is this the right thing to do? Yes or no?
Without having to have friction from any other source.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
again, just
So important.
It is. It's a lot less layers of the onion to peel. People walk in, they see the owner. They walk into a box store, they don't even know who owns the company.
Right. It's a different manager all the way up to like, yeah, the person that owns it might not ever really be on site.
Never,
Yeah.
ever. Maybe at the grand opening.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Woohoo. We got a new
Maybe.
store.
Good job, guys. See you later.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we do good in
I'm
next
there
month.
99% of the time. I'm there a lot of times when other people aren't.
Yeah.
So it's small business owner. That's what you do.
Yeah. Something that I think super interesting, and I'm a big brand person, and I love like the logo and the branding of companies. You went through a massive kind of change and pivot because when you first bought the store, it was just called Muffler Masters, right?
Business was in place for 30 years as Muffler Masters. Well, let's look at, I'll throw some names out there. Burlington Coat Factory. I don't know. Discount Shoes.
Right.
I can go on and on. Discount Tire.
Right.
What do they sell? It's in their name, right? That's what you expect. Muffler Masters. What do we do? Mufflers. Well, I don't know, 20 years ago, manufacturers started making mufflers out of stainless steel. The car started running better, less exhaust acids in the exhaust stream. Exhaust systems lasted a lot longer. Even when they were my customers, they started looking at different avenues within our business. That's really how I met them to expand their business. Well, we're full service now, and I really struggled with the name Muffler Masters because that's what you think, mufflers.
Yeah.
Burlington Coat Factory. What are you going to get there? Well, they sell other things. I added the name Car Pros. I think it's a nice touch. We do it all.
Yeah.
A lot of people still don't know that we do it all.
So you kind of created this new branding name of Car Pros for the auto repair.
Correct.
And then you retained the legacy and the long-term local branding of Muffler Master. You put them together, and it makes kind of a long name.
Car Pros Muffler Masters. It does, but it tells you a little bit about what we are. And,
Absolutely.
Our custom exhaust work is still second to none in the community. We have some exhaust specialists there. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's been with the industry for a long, long time, I'd put him up against anybody anywhere. That's
Sure.
how strongly I believe in the quality of his work. But I feel the same way about our auto repair.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why you're the pros.
that's where we're the pros. The pros know.
Yeah, and I just think that that's so interesting because you're right. That some people would ride that brand, or some people would maybe just get rid of the Muffler Masters. But there was a legacy, and you're in the same building, although you've done updates to the building,
Quite a few.
and it looks a little different. But I think that's such an interesting thing when you take over and purchase or acquire a business that's been around for so long. Is how do you keep that history intact too?
It's a tough thing, and it was a really tough decision to make on, what do we do? Because we want to evolve, but I don't want to lose the history.
Yeah,
I don't want to lose the recognition. I don't want to lose our name in the community. So, yeah, it was a tough decision, and we came up with 100 different ideas, but we just wanted to keep it simple too.
yeah,
I own the name Car Pros in the state of Colorado. There's been some other quote Car Pros pop up here and there that we got phone calls for, and we got yelled and screamed at, and let them vent and say, hey, you got the wrong Car Pros. Never really pursued anything with them, but
right.
it's over now.
I got a call yesterday or 2 days ago, and it's from somebody that's like, "How'd you get my information?" I got it from this person, so I called the company that gave them our information. Turns out it was High Speed Marketing, not High Speed Media.
Yeah.
But if you do a quick Google search, we pop up first, so it's our phone number that gets tied to it. Really fun stuff.
There's
sometimes.
technology working for us, right? When we really need it to.
I really want to be top of SEO until that moment, and then you're like, I could be lower. That would be okay at that moment.
The best thing is just people telling people how good you are and that they
Yeah.
trust you and they like you. And
I had a great conversation with the guy. I said, "Man, I don't have any of your. I have no idea." I even called the lady. She goes, "Yeah, you do all our mailers." I was like, "We do
don't do
social media.
We don't
Like,
do
I have no
mailers."
mailers. We're not the same company you think we are. But now, if you need some help with social media, let me know." So
Of course.
it was, but yeah, like the branding's so funny. But I think you've really, you've had to make a pivot and leaned into it. But I think that's such an interesting time to have to navigate.
It was a tough deal. What do you do? I mean,
Yeah,
I think our logo looks modern. It's
For sure.
colorful. It's catchy. Changed the look of the building considerably. Added some color to it, some design to it. We've done quite a bit of work there to continue to grow the brand recognition, the reputation. All my guys are in a nice, clean, neat uniform.
yeah.
Our floors are epoxy coated. You can see yourself in them. I can't tell you how many customers we walk through to take a look at their vehicle and say, it's the cleanest shop I've ever been in.
It's super clean. Yeah.
Again, small family business. It's my wife and I. We do the cleaning. Well, she does the cleaning on the weekends. And I can't tell you how many people we get responding. It's the cleanest restroom we've ever been in. The showroom's always spotless. They're nice people. It just goes on and on. I mean, that makes you feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you had a really bad day for some reason or another, people let you know, hey, we appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to like marketing and customers and different things like that, your business is so reliant upon like the lifetime value, the LTV of a customer. So they come in, they have a good experience the first time. If you made money off of them, cool. If you broke even on them, that's okay. Even if it cost you a little bit of money the first time they saw you, not the worst thing, because they might bring their car back to you for the next 20 years. And then what's that value worth? It's not great for the paychecks and the payroll and the cash flow tomorrow, but like for the long-term sustainability of the business, it's literally everything.
You got to look past the tip of your nose in this business. You do. It's not what's in it for me now. It's what's in it for me today, tomorrow, next year. And again, the legacy of my employees. I'm hoping someday that they're going to take this business over because they're the ones that got us here. I had a vision and a thought, and they helped along with that vision and thought.
Yeah.
They made my dreams come true.
Do you think that would be, and I mean, there's so many ways that could happen, right? Is like if one or a couple of them wanted to buy it, or if it was like an employee buyout thing where like it becomes like a membership then, or something like where they're all members of the thing. I don't know. It's such an interesting, there's some options there, right?
There's plenty of options
It's
there.
just whoever steps up and says, hey, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
We've all seen that old-time movie where the kid was in the 5 and 10 or the hardware store sweeping the floors, and 30 years later, he was the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, I have that same mentality. I think they contributed everything to get us there. They should have some reward long term too.
What's some of the keys to keeping good employees or hiring good ones? Or
Well, I used to work for a car dealership a long time ago, and we would have what they call 20 groups. You would be fitted with a guy from Florida and a guy from North Dakota and a guy from Maine and two from California. And you'd all get together and sit in a room and have ideas. And I had an idea once that I thought was pretty good. I actually won a lot of money. But you're married now. Do you talk about work when you go home?
all the time.
All the time. And she has to hear everything you have to say, and you have to hear everything she has to say.
Yep.
Technician goes home and complains to his wife, girlfriend. I ran an ad in the Sunday paper in the women's section. Are you sick of everything they complained about? Poor working conditions, not being respected, never said a word about money. Because honestly, it's probably about the fourth or fifth thing down on most
That's
people's
most
list.
important. Yeah.
It's being respected, a clean, safe, bright, warm working conditions. Blah, 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 blah. Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope that says P.O. Box number. I really didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to interview. I just went and picked up the letters at the end of every week. And, what do people want? They want a clean, bright, safe, warm working. They want a pat on the back. They want, hey, you're doing a great job. That looks fantastic. Thank you. They want to be recognized for what they do.
Yeah.
I can always do better. I'm busy. I'm running around doing this, that, and the other thing. I think every employer can probably do better at that.
Oh, absolutely.
But, at the end of the day, some people are just there for the money, and we don't necessarily have that employee there that's just money driven. It's bigger than that.
They got to make a reasonable wage to live
They do.
a good life, but then past that, there's so much more
There is.
that is the long term of it, right? If it's all about money, then we'll just all work overtime and make as much money as possible. But that you'll burn you up and burn yourself out. And if you're trying to make a career out of something, you got to enjoy it. You gotta be happy to go in. You can't hate it every day you go
I
in.
tell everybody, my job as an owner is to create opportunity for you to take advantage of. And obviously, we do that. We have state-of-the-art tooling. We have a safe, warm, bright, comfortable shop to be in.
They're not miserable in the summers. They're not miserable in the winters.
No, I wouldn't
It's a
say
shop.
I wouldn't say, never say never.
Yeah,
But
it's a shop.
you
It's
get a
not-
car that kicks your butt, or you're waiting for a part that you can't get, and now you're tied up, and there's just so many
Yeah,
variables.
sure.
But we do our best.
It's part of the challenge anyway.
It's part of the
If
challenge.
you're a mechanic or you're working on vehicles for a living, you are some sort of wanting a challenge. It's not a cookie cutter
Sometimes
situation.
I think you're sadistic, and why are you doing this? You could have been anything you want. But there's something about being a tech anymore that's very rewarding. That you can take this piece of iron, or today's world plastic, and make it work the way it's supposed to, and make that customer and their family safe and happy, and get down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had a conversation with my dad when I was in auto tech in high school, and he's like, I know you enjoy working on your cars, but do you think you want to work on other people's cars for a living? And I chose to be a welder after that instead of being an auto mechanic, because I was going to go to Arizona and do the whole thing. And I was like, no, you're probably right. Like,
Sometimes it's fun when you don't have to make a living doing it.
yeah,
But cars are in a lot of people's blood. It's something.
absolutely.
Your dad did it to you. My dad did it to me. My neighbor, who was a hot rod guy, did it to me. And it's always going to be there. But it changes as your age progresses, as your vision and focus changes. Things happen. Families, business, relationships. Things just change.
What got you into the automotive thing, looking back at it, and kind of what's your automotive career kind of look like?
I went to tech school in high school. I finished third in my class in the automotive program, and that was pretty good. I was pumping gas, worked at a gas station, grew up in a gas station, learned a lot about a lot of different things, some good, some not so good.
Some life things.
The guy that I spent a lot of time with was an old school drag racer who didn't have a lot of money, but he always wanted to do it. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But he got me into the gas station, pumping gas. The owner said, hey, you've been doing this for a while now. You want to come inside? Sure. I'll train you. I'll teach you. That's what I needed. In about 3 years, I kind of outgrew where they were going to go. And I went to a dealership. And I made the fatal mistake of saying, I really like working on engines. at a Cadillac Oldsmobile dealer when they had the diesel. So that kind of, let's say, just tainted me a little bit on the dealership life. And unfortunately, I got in a very bad car accident. I spent about a year unable to do a whole lot of anything. And another dealership opened up near my house, and it happened to be an Oldsmobile dealer who's no longer in business. And I went in and said, "Hey, I just want an opportunity to learn. You're hired." And I was incredibly fortunate. This guy took me under his wing, and I didn't know who he was or what he was or anything about him, but he was probably one of the best guys. And I grew up in the Philadelphia area, and he was like the tech in 3 states, and I didn't realize that. And he taught me an awful lot about cars.
You just thought it was a normal day, and he was at a whole nother level. You were just getting all that information.
Some days he treated me really nice, and some days he expected more out of me. But that grew me, and I kept growing. And, a lot of friends were out drinking and smoking dope, and I'm home reading manuals about how to fix cars. And maybe I didn't quite fit in, but I wanted to be good at what I did.
Consistency and dedication to set yourself apart.
Well, I had goals that I wanted to reach, and I did. And I'm very fortunate to be able to go down the path that I ended up in. Yeah. So it's out there, and it's out there for everybody to achieve. They just got to figure out what that goal is and how am I going to get there. And yes, you have to open your own doors. They don't open for you.
Yeah, and I think seeing some of that happen, right, is the consistency is that door might be 45 days away, and on day 39 you do something that sets that door back, and you just never get there or whatever. And
how bad do you want that door, though?
Right, and I think, but people don't realize that you just keep moving towards it. You'll get there eventually, but then they get sidetracked, or unfortunately something happens,
they get depressed, and they get down and it's not working out. Maybe I should do something different. You got to do what you like, and if you like what you do, it's not really work.
You'll do it in perpetuity.
You're not a welder today.
No.
And you're not an auto mechanic.
I get a weld on my own race car when I want to, and it's really, really cool when I get to do it on my own stuff. But.
Sure.
But I don't have to do it every day for somebody else's stuff, right?
You gotta like what you do.
Yeah, it's the biggest life hack I've ever figured out is enjoying it. And I loved welding, and I liked doing that, but then I didn't like the corporate thing and them saying, well, you got to work nights, or you got to work this schedule, or you got to do that thing, or it was a production-based thing, and it wasn't real fun, and it was such a big thing. They're really, sweeping the floors to owning that thing is corporate owned, like at that point. So you're never going to solely own that deal. So like no matter how hard you work, and it's been around, it's crazy, like opportunities and things. And you could keep climbing it, and or you go set your own path, and you just keep working towards it. Sometimes you got to take a step back, though.
Sometimes you do have to take a step back to go forward. But if in our business, I think it's simple, because if you know how things work, it's easy to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
We have more technology at our fingertips than we've ever had. We have more things that we can look at and talk to and, help us. It's not always easy.
Yeah, the data's crazy.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But
it can be confusing.
It can be real confusing. Why is this doing that when this does this? And, every once in a while you run across something that absolutely cannot happen. And it doesn't make any sense. Why?
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know the answer. But I did this, and it fixed the car. And it doesn't make any sense. Again, why?
I love having that service where people have tried to get something fixed somewhere else, or done somewhere else, or figure something out, and people can't figure it out. And then you're like, I'll figure it out. It's not going to be fun, but we'll get through it. Like, as long as you're consistently going to work with me on this or whatever, we'll figure it out together.
At that point in time in our industry, half the time you got to go back and fix 19 things that somebody else messed up to get to the root problem.
Yeah.
I've been 3 places. I've been 4 places. It's been here for a month.
Replace this, and this. And
right, and now we've induced 6 other problems.
Yeah.
It's sometimes they're the hardest things to fix. And now the customer's incredibly frustrated, and they've already got this attitude that it's, here we go again. It's like, give us some time, we'll figure it out. But unfortunately, some of that time costs money.
Yeah.
It's part of the path.
one of the things that you've told me is like you should own the building, right?
Should own the building.
You should own the building. So what is within getting the company or the business and then owning the building or owning the building that you're in? Why is that some advice you'd give to anybody that has a business or they're building a business and thinking about, do I keep renting? Do I keep paying this rent or do I own the business? Like I understand it from like a property investment standpoint, but also what's some other good things you've seen come from that within a
Well, you
within a
don't have to
company?
ask somebody else permission to make changes. You want to build a wall, you want to knock it down, you want to add some color, you want to add lights, fixtures. You don't have to jump through hoops to get that done. The money that you are paying every month towards that property is an investment.
Yep.
You're not going to lose. Some people can't do that, and I understand that. In other cases, it is the right move for people because the building's exactly what they need.
Yes.
Or it's too big and they can grow into it. Sometimes you got to think about that. The expenses. What happens when, if you're renting, the hot water heater goes out? They're going to pay for it, right? Because it's their building. It depends on what your lease says.
Yeah, in a commercial lease,
Or
maybe not.
maybe if you have a commercial lease and you have neighbors that don't necessarily align with your business strategies,
Right.
they're taking your parking spots or they're attracting the wrong clientele or their business is 180 degrees from yours. Sometimes that can be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Parking, access, who controls all that when you're aligned with somebody else?
Yeah,
There's pros and cons to both.
for sure.
I'm a believer that, buy the building that you're in, you control your own destiny at that point in time.
Yeah.
It can be expensive, but my opinion is I'd bite off a little more than I can chew and maybe even feel a little uncomfortable and say, okay, I got to fix this problem. How do I get more business to pay for what I've done?
Has that been a consistent thing that you've done in business? Almost put yourself in a little uncomfortable position to then kind of force yourself to chase the next level?
Yes and no. I got fortunate on this building. I think we purchased at a very reasonable price, and shortly after the business boom, real estate jumped up. But you've been there. I've invested a small fortune in
Yeah.
upgrades.
That you might not have done if you didn't own it, right?
I probably wouldn't have done it if I didn't. Obviously, impressions are important to customers when they walk up. How does
Right.
the building look? Does it?
So although hard to quantify on paper as an overall experience, yes, it's an asset for the business, but also what it allowed you to then provide for customers is important.
Everybody has a different button.
Yeah.
When they walk up, what are they expecting to see?
Oil running out of the bay, or do you want
Cars smoking, and just people,
running
not-
around like crazy?
Everybody has a different vision of a professional
Yeah.
place or professional people. I guess I'm old-fashioned that way. I just think things should look neat, clean, and tidy.
Yeah. No, I think it makes a big difference, especially in an environment that you see varying of that a lot in the industry, right?
We've all been in a restaurant where you walk in and there's trash on the floor. And it's like, man, if it looks this bad out here, what does it look like in the kitchen?
Right.
And it's always in the back of my mind going, eh. So
Yeah.
we have a thing at our facility that you see something, pick it up. If it doesn't belong, make it right.
Take pride in.
There's a lot of reasons for that. Trash is laying on the floor. Someone could slip on something, get hurt. It's just what we do.
How about safety within the business? Making sure everybody's, sharp, on point, well rested, not feeling good, and that they come in and, perform, or you communicate that like, hey, I'm not having a great day, or I'm not feeling very good. Maybe we need to.
We have enough people. If somebody's
navigate
not
that.
doing well, we can figure out a way around that. Go home, get rest, whatever you need. We have all the safety required stuff: eye wash stations, first aid kits, a non-slip floor. We have all our MSDS sheets in order. We do the right things there. It's clean, it's bright, it's all LED lit. We do have a safety exit plan, and all these things are shown, educated, talked about. What happens if you do get hurt? What do we do? How do we do it? Who do you call? So, everything's in place. It's policies and procedures.
Was a lot of that in place, or did you have to build all that in?
We started all from fresh because their stuff doesn't work for us, and our stuff probably wouldn't work for them. So,
So you got to take a crash course in figuring all that out as you navigated it.
relationships we talked about right at the beginning.
Hiring the right people to help consult that.
Put the right things in place.
Yeah. I think systems and processes, like I've done a decent job with here, but it just compounds everything, every employee, so yeah.
It's a living document. It's constantly changing.
And we gotta work on them more. Like you feel good, and then you like a few more things happen. And you're like, okay, now we gotta figure that part out.
And then you got state regulations that make you change things, So it's
welcome to owning a business.
Walking through the door in the morning, and people say, "Oh, you're a millionaire. You own a business." It's not quite that way.
It must be nice, huh? Yeah.
You understand.
Yeah, no, it is. But I think that's what, like, the podcast, I want people to understand that, like, it is really cool to own a business, but there is so much that you don't know until you know. And then hopefully having these conversations, it opens people's thoughts to be like, that excites me, and I'm like down to go like learn that and figure that out in business. Or I look at that enough and I say,
it's not for everybody.
No way. Like,
it's not for everyone.
Or then if that makes sense, then you find a partner and you love this side of it and they love that side of it. And then they can help with that if that makes sense for their situation or whatever. So
yeah, being in business is not for everybody. It's a 24/7 job. You're always really doing something, whether it's building maintenance or employee manuals or safety things or updating something like your IT system. It's constant.
When it breaks, you got to fix it.
It's constant.
And if not, you got to go find somebody that'll fix it.
Because the gears have to mesh, and they just have to keep working. And when something goes wrong, it affects everything else in the facility.
I think that's what's fun, though, about building a business is it's like building a machine. And then it clicks and works and everything's humming along. It's really, really, really cool.
It is really cool until something breaks, which can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wild thing, but it's super fun.
It is.
If you like a good challenge, try building the business. But also don't think that, I mean, I don't know, when you got the business, did it kind of cash flow? Did it make a profit right away?
It was a good business buy. The guy who had it before us, they did a good job. He was very, very fair with me. We looked at numbers, we looked at tax returns, we looked at stats, and, I just saw so much more opportunity there.
Yeah, he was good with where it was at, but you're like, hey.
Yeah, he was quite happy where he was.
Yeah.
People get complacent. I do. You do.
Yeah, sure.
Some business advice. Go look at other people's businesses.
See what they're doing, yeah.
You'll see the good, the bad, the ugly. Make friends. Get involved with other businesses and learn what they're doing. People will share stuff to you if you're not a competitor. And they'll learn from you too. But you'll learn the good things to do and sometimes the bad things not to do. But it's out there. And, at the end of the day, you're selling time.
Mm-hmm.
Not auto repair. You're selling time. That's what you have. How much time do you want to invest in this client-customer relationship, and what's the payback going to be? And for us, it's worked.
Yeah.
It just happened we fixed a car or two along the way.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Yeah. No,
But we
cool.
get help from people like you and your business. It's excelled. Our business, it's got our face and our name out there to a lot of different people that we would never be able to touch normally.
If I could solve the question, like everybody, no matter how much marketing, I think no matter how much you do, you'll always get the people who be like, I've never heard of you.
Exactly.
I didn't know your building existed behind the Arby's that I'd go to
people
5 times
right down
a
the
week.
street. I lived here for 23 years. We never knew you were here. Okay. And I understand that. You take it for granted. You get in your car and you drive to work. You go to school.
They don't miss a turn. They take the same path. Like
they're in
autopilot. Yeah.
Just spaced out, just doing their thing.
Yeah, just floating through life. And then they're like, who do I have work on my car? And then, yeah, no, I think it's such a wild thing. But we just deal with that all the time. And you're like, 100 and some thousand impressions, 1 million impressions on this ad, and then like still nobody knows who you are. And you're like, how is this possible? It's so funny. Which the brand and the awareness is growing, but it's just like there's so many people. Like you can't hit everybody. you'll never get to everybody. You can do everything you want for as long as you want. You'll never get to
But
everybody.
that's where your satisfied customers come in, because they tell their friends and
Yep.
their neighbors and their people at church and the people they work with, and before you know it, you got 25 more customers, and then that just continues to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, and in your industry, you get somebody that might have went somewhere for a while, and then the manager changed or the mechanic thing or something happened or
Yeah.
whatever, and then they're unsatisfied, so then they're going to move. They're going to jump
Yeah.
ship, and they're going to churn and go to someone else. And then you're there to hopefully satisfy the new customer, and then they stick
Yeah,
with you.
We're very fortunate to live in a town that there is a lot of transient people that come and go because of the military.
Right.
So we do get a lot of people off of Fort Carson and the Air
Sure.
Force Academy and Peterson. You know, our reputation with the ladies and men in uniform, which we truly appreciate their service. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I happen to be really good friends with a lot of law enforcement agents and first responders. So again, thank you. But we get that business also,
Yeah.
you know, through a lot of referrals. I'm going to call myself a half-ass fisherman. So I know a lot of people in the community that do that. So we do a lot of work on their boats and their trailers.
It's like, how many people can you meet and talk to, right? And with what you love doing.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun then, you
Yeah.
know. We're on the same boat, no pun intended, but, you know, if you're with like-minded people with like hobbies, it makes things a lot easier.
Made it a lot easier when I met Kevin, and he had a race car, and he's had a couple race cars, and I've had a couple race cars.
And I was
and
faster than James.
we both have Camaros, so
And I'm faster than James.
so yeah, I mean, and a lot of great like business talk, but then I also love to get to know like the person behind that, right? Because like, why do you work so hard? What do you love doing? Why work 24/7? And one of the things Kevin loves is fishing.
I do love fishing. It's relaxing. I turn the phone off, and you know, there's nothing like seeing a bald eagle in the wild, or a set of otters, or some beavers swimming across the lake. It's incredibly relaxing. Sunsets, sunrises. It just takes away any stress.
So outside of work, most of your thought is fishing and hobbies and different
I wouldn't
things
say
like
most
that.
of my thought,
Or
because you never stop thinking about work.
yeah,
You
when you
know,
got family and everything else too, right?
I do
So-
have family. I have 4 children, triplet daughters, and an older son. He is a captain in the Marine Corps. I have a daughter who's a lieutenant, who's a physician's assistant in the Navy. So they're all over the country right now. And I have 2 other daughters here in Colorado, which they're also successful. One is a physical therapist, and the other one is working in the insurance industry right now. So I'm very proud of all of them. They've done a great job.
But
they're-
triplet daughters.
Their mom did a fantastic job of raising them. So, you know, I think I've hit all my goals as a human.
Yeah.
So I'm not done, but I don't have as big as goals as I used to.
You're maybe a little more hungry to enjoy some of life a little more than maybe just hustling.
I'd rather stand back and see what we've done instead of maybe trying to accomplish the next feat.
Well, that's what's fun too, right? Is you're like building that thing and talking about maybe having the employees take over the business or somebody take over the business. It's like, can I leave this legacy thing to like let other people run or run with, or it's kind of like a cool,
Yep.
like let it go and I can enjoy myself, but I'm here. I still enjoy building the business. I want to do those things, but also there is another goal in mind there in a
The
lifetime.
goal every day is to do better, not bigger, but better
Yeah.
every day. And it's obtainable. But I used to work for a company called Saturn. They used to make automobiles. And
Don't know if you've ever heard of them or
I don't know
not.
if you ever heard of them. There's not many of them left. But they used to Mrs. Field's chocolate chip cookies. They always referred to her verbiage. Good enough never is.
Yeah.
Good enough never is. What is good enough? Just okay?
Yeah.
Well, that's not good enough. So we strive tomorrow to be better than we were today.
Yeah. Quality is subjective.
It is, very much so. But, you know, you bite it, you know, eat that elephant one little bite at a time. Sooner or later, you're going to devour it. If you take these big, enormous bites, you choke.
Mm-hmm.
So we just keep nibbling. And sometimes we're forced to make things and do things because we're forced to do them. I'm not sure we get sidetracked, but we don't lose vision or sight. We just get delayed on some of the things we want to accomplish because of things, life, people.
Yeah. Life happens.
weather, Colorado, you know, potholes. There's a few of them out there.
What was one of the last fishing trips you went on, and how did it go?
We just came back from Lake of the Ozarks. It's called the Big Bass Bash. There's one fish swimming around out there that's worth $100,000.
That's crazy.
It could be a 2-pound bass. It could be a 10-pound bass.
It's just marked. Is it tagged or something? Or
No, it's the biggest bass in a 2-day tournament.
Oh, okay.
There's 1,500 boats fishing it. You pay an entry fee, and there's hundreds of prizes given out. But, you know, that anticipation of can you catch, and it's strictly luck. There's no skill here involved. Catching fish is the skill, but you don't know if it's going to be a 2-pound or a 10-pound. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But
the luck is, where are you at, and where's the biggest fish in the 2 days at?
We have a group of guys that we go with every year, and we have a really good time just seeing each other and just having a fun time.
Yeah, it's like a fringe reunion.
Yep. We hope it's good weather. We stay in a very nice place, and we have fun doing it. We all have the same likes and food likes and all that stuff, so it's not a crazy wild when you're 16 where, you know, remember what Billy did? It's not that way. We're
just hanging out and enjoying.
Hanging out and having fun. Unfortunately, I did not win the $100,000 fish or anybody I went with. So
did you catch a fish?
We've caught fish.
What was your biggest one?
I was probably only 3 pounds. It wasn't big enough to be in the money.
What was the money, or what was the biggest?
8.29.
8.29 pounds.
$100,000 he got the check for.
It's wild.
It is wild.
That's pretty fun, like, right? It's like kind of playing the lottery out on the water. Just, you're going to go fishing anyway, so you might as well fish for the lottery.
Everybody goes with the anticipation is, you know, I'm not going to catch it. So for him to be that surprised, he was elated when they weighed it in, because an 8-pounder was leading all morning long, and he came in with his 8.29. And I can't imagine the instant depression that guy went through with the 8-pounder.
Oh, man.
I mean,
what was second place cash-wise?
8 pounds. He held on.
But how much did the second place guy get?
It went from 100 to 20.
Not a bad payday still.
Not a bad payday.
It wasn't $100,000.
It wasn't the the enchilada.
that 0.29 pounds really made a difference financially.
Huge. But you can't control that. So
what's some of your favorite places to fish?
The Midwest is really got a lot of water in it, and I do like Florida. We've done deep sea fishing. We've done a lot of freshwater fishing, but any type of fishing's great. Just being outside.
Being out on the boat, and as long as the weather
clean, fresh, good. Bright air, nice day. Sometimes you don't even care if you catch anything. You're outside.
Yeah.
So.
What was it? I know you did a lot of racing, and that's a lot of hurry up, wait, hustle, bustle, dirty. At times, and now you're fishing. But it's a hobby, right? And it's a passion. So either way, you're going to find yourself doing something.
Yeah, I don't have enough money to make it a business like some of these guys do. And, I applaud them. They're doing something they love to do, something they're good at. And I think I can speak for the racing community and the fishing community. You're not going to meet finer people. I mean, they're just great, great people. They understand and care about each other. Racing's fun, and I lived and breathed cars my whole life.
Yeah.
It was an absolute passion for the longest time, and I appreciate a beautiful classic car anymore, and I really appreciate the beauty of some of the nice antique cars, but it's just not the same for me anymore.
Yeah.
It just isn't. I don't have the time or the energy to restore and rebuild. I love looking at them, and I would love driving them, but the racing stuff for me, honestly, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I'm not saying it's just me.
Yeah,
It's still a lot of fun. The travel, the nice tracks, meeting up with people you haven't seen in a while, and the sound and the car and the smells. There's nothing like it.
Oh, it's racing, and I mean, I'm sure fishing can be like that too, but it's like a drug that you get burnt out on over time.
You do.
There's so much time, effort, energy. It is amazing that, like I tell people, the highest of highs is only so good because the lowest of lows are so hard when you're doing it. When you break something, you spend all your money in it, you literally watch it wash away, or then you win a race and you win money. Like, that's fun. Some of that's the most exciting. So it's like chasing a high that.
You hear him say, when it's not fun anymore, it's time to quit.
Yeah.
It just wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy going and watching. It's just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
But
But now you look forward to fishing.
it's just different. And I did it before, and I came back to it again.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it makes more sense, and it's more rewarding at this stage of my life.
Sure.
You know, I don't have the reaction time you young guys have, and I just don't have the energy anymore. You know, you think you just show up and race, and then you work all week on the car to make it ready, you know, between the trailer and food and getting everybody together and uniforms and making sure the car's right on. And you always got to be faster than the next guy, so you're buying something else, and you don't really have time to test it and make sure it's.
Like I tell people, if you're going to get into cars, just know you won't have money for anything else because it'll take every dime if you let it.
How do you make $1 million racing? Start with 2, because it's gone.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
And,
But
you know, me growing up, it was, you know, do what you can with what you had. And you saw some amazing things. Today, you get on a computer and you dial this in and it tells you how fast the car's going to go. It's the fun and adventure and the science is still there, but it's not the same.
yeah, no, it's fun. It's a challenge, and I don't know. I feel like building a business is like building a car though too, because
It is.
you're working and working, and then you get enjoyment in moments, and then it breaks, and then you keep working on it, and then it gets faster, and it gets bigger
Yep.
and louder and cooler, and
And you want to do better tomorrow, so you invest in something. It could be people, it could be technology, it could be
Yeah.
advertising, it could be whatever. You want to get to the next level. But the guys at the top, where do they go?
yeah, and I think that's how you beat the guys at the top, right? Is they don't know where to go, but you know where they're at, so you keep striving to get
And,
towards that direction.
and then in the long run, that trip to get to the top seems easier.
And I think it's about the trip.
It is all about the journey.
It has nothing to do with
Nope.
the
The reward is the journey.
is the journey. Yeah, it's all the stories, the people you meet along the
Yep.
way, the things you're doing.
Relationships.
Yeah,
You know, if I wasn't doing this, I would have never met you guys and
right.
10,000 other people that I know now that I can call friends.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to be able to do is just sit down, have conversations that we've had some of these conversations, but they weren't on camera. So
Nope.
that's what's super fun. It's like let's talk about all those things we kind of talk about, but on camera because I think
Yep.
it's super interesting. I really enjoyed working with so many businesses because I learned so much about the people, the businesses, how they keep their employees happy. Just like the data I've gathered with working with so many businesses is so
Mhm.
interesting. Like the data you guys have gathered with working with fleet or people or the different cars or whatever, like you're constantly learning. And
Never stops.
man, the information you get is wild.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's what do you do with all that information? Do you make the right decisions or the wrong ones? But that's called learning, because if you don't make any wrong ones, you don't learn from your mistakes. And you
Yeah,
have to.
when everything goes good, you're not learning anything.
Well,
Not anything, but
you learn how to, you know,
to break
celebrate.
it.
You learn how to celebrate it. which
Because then
isn't
you
a bad
usually get
thing.
bored, then you like mess with something, then it breaks, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I'm learning next.
So I mean, it's always a challenge. It'll keep you on your toes. You know, most people out there, they 5:01, they're walking out the door, and they live life. Life works over until 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah,
But you know, they got their family to enjoy, or sports, or whatever they do at night. Where a small business owner, is this okay? Is that okay? You know, it's always, you're always functioning somehow involved in the business.
just keep moving forward.
Keep moving.
Keep moving. Maybe not forward, sideways, backwards,
Sometimes
left,
when
right,
you're
up,
not
down.
moving, you get run over.
Yeah, don't get ran over. That's
Don't get
what
run
I'm saying.
over.
So one of the last questions I usually ask is, what would be some advice in life or in business for people to not suck at business or life? What's some advice you could give, or some things you would tell people if they're like, I want to go crush it in life?
If you are truly passionate about something, be the best that you possibly can be at it. And sacrifice early to get the rewards later. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you will, and you have to learn from them. Don't make too many, but make enough that you can say, hey, I'm not going to do that again. And surround yourself with good people. Keep your ears open all the time and listen and listen and listen. It's okay to take notes and put them somewhere if you need to revert back. Get organized, get weird, and organize your stuff so you can say, you know, what about this topic? What about that topic? If you have an opportunity to go see something or do something or be involved with something, try it. You got nothing to lose but time.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself in many ways, not just financially, but time. Learn things. Again, get passionate about whatever you think you want to do. And it's okay in 3 years if you decide this isn't what I want to do. It's not too late.
Yeah.
But
You don't have an unlimited amount of time, but
utilize the time that you have wisely and make it as efficient as you possibly can.
for sure.
And just be the best.
Love it.
Every day, try to be the best you possibly can be at what you want to do. And you'll never regret a day in your life if you do that.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Well, Kevin,
Thank you, James. You guys have been great to us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything, the business, the conversations, the friendship. The last thing would be is you got a camera right there if you want to tell people if they're in Colorado Springs where to come see if they need something.
Car Pros Muffler Masters, 3015 North Stone Avenue. We're right off the Fillmore exit of I-25. I got a great staff. We're open 7 to 6 Monday through Friday. 719-636-1087 is our phone number. You can find us on the website at mufflermastersco.com. I'm sorry, mufflermasterscs.com. Great crew, great staff. We're there to help you. Got a question about something, we're there to answer it. Our job is to make sure you make confident, competent decisions on your vehicle repairs, purchases, any questions you want to run by. We'll do what we can to help you.
And
Appreciate your time.
And if you guys go in there and you see Kevin, tell him that you saw him on this Don't Suck podcast. And thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Thank you, James.
It's been awesome.
It's been awesome. Great time.
Cool.
Awesome.